Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Let's see. Could you, in Holbrook, can you aim the camera down? Although it looks like we've only got a couple people there. So on the touch 10 unit, you can just do there you go. A little bit more. All right. Well, let's go ahead and call the roll. So Andres, Desiree.
She's not here. She's here.
All right. Naomi,
She's not here.
Baylin,
Here.
Caitlin,
She's not here.
Avery,
Here.
Cyrus,
He's not here. Yeah.
Tara,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
Lauren,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Ricky,
Here.
Seth,
Here.
Madison,
Here.
Kinsley,
Here.
Sierra.
She's not here.
Thanks. Nice harmony there. Hannah,
Here.
Jocelyn,
She's not here.
okay. Cottrell,
He's not here.
Rebecca,
Here.
Jill,
Here.
Serena,
She's here.
she is. Anna Marie,
She's not here.
okay, thanks. Okay. All right. Okay, so today we are working on section 3.2. We were talking about vertex form of a function. And then we were going to talk about maximum and minimums. Now, here's the deal. So we're coming up on the midterm is going to be on up through section 3.3, I think. Yeah, I wrote this up. So on Monday, I'm going to be talking about the midterm, because it's going to be coming up. It depends on how much we cover on Monday. If we're not completely 100% finished with 3.3 on Monday, then we're going to put it off a week. But it could be as early as Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Okay, so you'll have a week to review that. So we're gonna just kind of see how that goes. Like I said, on Monday. Regardless, I will talk Monday about the midterm. I would do it today, but we've got so many people absent in Holbrook. I don't want to just repeat myself. So I'm going to go through all the details. I'll tell you the time limits, question numbers, how the thing's going to work. So I'm just kind of letting you know that the midterm's going to be coming up. So anyway, any questions, comments, concerns before I dive into 3.2 for today? Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we were talking about the vertex form. No. There we go. Okay. So the reason why the vertex is so important is when you're graphing, that's the one point that you have to have accurate. Also, later in this lesson, we're going to be talking about maximum and minimization problems, which is super important because typically, like in business, you want to maximize your profit or minimize your cost or whatever. It seems like a lot of times in life you're trying to maximize or minimize something. And so to learn how to do that is an extremely important skill. So, and it's all about finding the vertex. And so I said yesterday that there's 3 ways that we're going to do learn to do the vertex today. So the first way actually helps with graphing as well, and that's called the vertex form. Okay? So to do the vertex form, you're going to complete the square. And so what you do is if you have a number, a constant, you sort of move that out of the way. And then the rest in parentheses, you put, and if you have a number in front of the x squared where it's a negative, or if it's another number, you factor it out of the first 2 terms. So here I'm factoring out the negative. And then I move the 3 out of the way. All right, then I decide what number I add in here to complete the square. So do you remember that? What do I add to complete the square for that polynomial?
One.
1. Yeah, because it's half the middle term. Half the middle term is 1. 1 squared is 1. Okay, now this is the part that I need all eyes up on the board. Don't start the practice problem yet. Otherwise, you're going to get messed up on this. Okay, that when we completed the square before, we were working with both sides of the equation. So whatever I added to one side, I add to the other side. In this, we're adding numbers on the same side of the equation. So whatever I add, I have to subtract. But yet it looks like I'm adding 1 to both of those. Why doesn't that mess up the equation? Why isn't it a -1 here? If I add 1, shouldn't I subtract 1 to make the equation balance?
You have the negative out front, so it'll be a -1 in the parentheses.
I know I couldn't get that past you, Lauren. Okay? If by adding a 1 in here, because I factored out a negative, I really added a -1. So to compensate for adding a -1, you add a +1. All right, so now you have your perfect square. So it's negative x plus 1, quantity squared, plus 4. So now that's your vertex form. So from that, you read off the vertex is the opposite of this number, -1, 4, and then you know your parabola opens down. And so really from that, you can sort of fake it. And you know it's the same opening as y equals x squared. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, so you guys try practice 2B, please. All right, Serena, what is the vertex? Do you need some help, Serena?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you move that -8 out of the way. Okay. Then you say, okay, what number am I going to add in here to complete the square? So what number would I put in there?
1.
1, because half of the middle term is 1. 1 squared is 1. So if you're going to add a 1 in there, then you subtract a 1 to compensate for that. So now this is a perfect square, x plus 1 squared minus 9. So then the vertex is -1, the opposite of this number, comma, that number. So then to graph it, you graph that point, -1, 9, and then is your parabola opening up or down?
Up.
Up. And it's about the same width as y equals x squared. So you just sort of fake it from there. All right, any questions? Okay, so to make the graph more accurate, we can find more points. So probably the most commonly found points are the x-intercepts. So to find the x-intercepts of the graph of f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, you set it equal to 0 and solve. And so all of these are just the ways that we've already learned to solve a quadratic, okay? So you just can pick whichever way you think is easiest. Factoring the quadratic formula, square roots, completing the square, graphing, whatever you want to do to solve it. So if I'm trying to find the x-intercepts for this, y equals 2x squared plus 3x plus 4, I set it equal to 0 and solve. Okay? Now, all right, now so let's go back to this one. We already found the vertex for this one. This was the same as practice 2b. Okay? So to find the x-intercepts, you set it equal to 0 and solve. Okay? So x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. All right, so I'll give you a minute to solve. I will say this is that usually I think the easiest way to do it is to factor. If you can't factor it in like 5 seconds, then I would just skip it and do graphing or the quadratic formula. So if you can't factor it in your head in just a matter of a few seconds, then just do something else. So Jill, what method are you using?
Factoring.
All right, so what does that factor to?
X minus 2, x plus 4.
Good. And so then what are your final answers?
Positive 2 and negative 4.
Excellent. Okay. So those are your x-intercepts. So then along with your graph, then if you plot those x-intercepts, then see your graph will be more accurate. Okay. So now here's a way that you can test, you can kind of check, is to see if your answers are correct, is that remember the parabola is symmetric. So if you imagine like a vertical line going through the vertex, you see how, so that's your axis of symmetry. And do you see how one x-intercept or one is the same distance from the axis of symmetry as the other? So they're mirror images. So that's kind of a way to check to make sure you didn't make a little mistake on those. Okay, so any questions on that? All right, great job, Jill. All right, well, let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the second method to find the vertex. Okay, for a quadratic function in standard form, the axis of the associated parabola is x equals negative b over 2a. So that's how to find that axis of symmetry. And the vertex is negative b over 2a, comma, and then you plug in negative b over 2a into the function. Now, this is what I call the calculus method, because the negative b over 2a actually comes from calculus. But since it's, I don't have to teach you calculus to let you learn how to use it, okay? So, but that's where the negative b over 2a comes from. So let's say I wanted to find the vertex of this, okay? So first, you identify the A, B, and the C. Now make sure that you put the negatives with it, okay? And then, so you'll say negative b over 2a. So negative b here would be 4 over 2 times 1. So 4 over 2 is 2. So that's the x-coordinate of the vertex. Then to get the y-coordinate, you plug 2 into the function, find the f of 2, and so you get 4, and so then your vertex is at 2, 4. Okay? All right, so go ahead and try practice 2D. Oh, wait. Before you jump in on that, I'm actually going to change the problem slightly. Okay, so do this one. So find the vertex of the function g of x equals 3x squared plus 18x minus 1. All right, Rebecca, what do you have? Do you need some help?
I'm stuck.
Okay. All right. So first, okay, let me just make you a comment here, Rebecca. This is in no way targeted toward you, so don't think that. But I have noticed that a lot of times as I'm starting the example, there's a lot of you that are just try to rush to the practice problems, and I really don't see you watching the examples too much. And I think that would really help you if you watch me do the examples. Don't feel like you have to write them all down. If you feel like you want to write them down, that's okay. But normally I do examples so that you can watch me. Okay. So anyway, let's try it here. All right. So here, the first thing is you identify A, B, and C. So A is 3, B is 18, C is -1. Okay. Then negative B over 2A. Okay. The most common mistake here is people just do negative B divided by 2 times A. But it's 2A is in the denominator. So it's going to be -18 over 2 times 3, or -18 6, which is -3. All right, then you find the g of -3 by plugging -3 into the original function. So that's 3 times -3 squared plus 18 times -3 minus 1. And so then that would be 27 plus -54 minus 1, which is -28. Okay. So then the vertex is -3, -28. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. So that's the second method. So like if completing the square, like a lot of times if there's a number in front, like the 3, and so completing the square gets a little tricky, then I'll do it this way. Okay. I'll find the vertex this way. Okay, next, maximization and minimization problems. Okay, together these are called optimization. Okay, we're trying to find the optimal value. So for a quadratic function in the form f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is greater than 0, so if a is positive, then f has a minimum that occurs at the vertex. If a is less than 0, then that means the parabola opens down, and the f has a maximum that occurs at the vertex. So it seems kind of weird, but whether you're trying to find the maximum or minimum value of a function, you do it the same way. You find the vertex. Okay? So to find the minimum or maximum value, you find the vertex. And it's specifically the y value is the highest or the lowest value, or the maximum or the minimum. So the x value of the vertex tells you where it occurs. The y value is the actual maximum or minimum. Okay? All right. So, well, let's just go to the practice problem. So if this says find the minimum value of the function, 3x squared minus 11x plus 16, at what value of x does this minimum occur? All right? So, let's see. Okay, so go ahead and do this. So you can either complete the square or you can do the negative b over 2a. All right, so Hannah, when you've got the x value, let us know what that is. Because you actually find that first. So the value of x, where the minimum occurs. So when you have the x value, tell us what that is.
Is it negative 1.83?
Okay. So negative, or let's see. Okay, I got, it's positive because it's negative b over 2a. And since b is already negative, when you take the opposite of b, it's going to become positive 11 over 2a, so over 6. So you could say 11/6, leave it as a fraction, or as a decimal, that's 1.8. And usually I want you to carry out 3 decimals, 1.833. Okay? All right, so that's the second part. At what value does this minimum occur? Okay, to actually find it now, you plug that into the function and find the y value. So do that now. And Kinsley, when you've got that one.
I have 5.92.
Okay. All right, 5 point. Actually, I'd like you to carry it out to 3 decimals. So 5.917 or 0.916, either way. The reason why I do that, just so you know, is that that's the standard in calculus. And I just want you to get used to it, okay? But of course, on the test or quiz, you're going to see the answers and see how they're rounded. So it's not a big deal. Okay? So good job. Any questions on that? So the actual minimum of the fraction of the function is 5.916. Okay? All right, good. Okay. Now, the other way that you can find a minimum, especially with a complicated function or whatever, is you can, or with any of these that we're doing, to find the maximum or a minimum, you graph the function, okay? And so let's just see what it would look like in the calculator, okay? So when you graph it, come on, wake up. There we go. So let's say you graph your function here. Okay, so to have the calculator produce the maximum or minimum, what you do is you press, well, first of all, if you just graph it, okay, you see it. So if you want that maximum, so this is the third way to find the vertex, okay? So completing the square, negative b over 2a, this is the third way, graphing. So what you can do is press second, calc, maximum, or minimum, whichever one you have. So second calc maximum. And then, so where it says left bound, you arrow to the left of it and press enter. Where it says right bound, you arrow to the right of it and press enter. And then for guess, you just press enter again. And boom. So that's your maximum. And so remember, the x value is where it occurs. The y value is the actual maximum value. Okay? So, or the minimum in the case where if your parabola opens down. Okay? All right. So this is the profit of producing X widgets is P of X equals 50,000 plus 100X minus 0.1X squared. Calculate the maximum profit and the number of widgets that should be produced. Okay, so the actual maximum or minimum value here is the Y value. It's the X is where it happens. Okay? Now, because this number is so big, you would have to monkey with the window a lot to get it on the calculator. So it might be easier to do this using the negative b over 2a. But if you do it that way, you've got to rewrite this so it's in descending order so that you identify the A, B, and the C correctly. Okay? All right, so see if you can do that. So either, I would say do it in the calculator if you're good with changing the window, or do it with the negative b over 2a. All right, so Madison, which way are you doing? Are you doing with the calculator or the negative b over 2a?
Okay, let's see. Negative b over 2a.
Okay, so what did you get when you did negative b over 2a? Let's make sure we get that far first.
I got 500.
Okay, let's see. Okay, 500? That's what you said, right? Okay. All right, so everybody cool with that? With the 500. So that's not the maximum profit. That's the number of widgets that should be produced. So if the question asks you for that, that's the X value. The actual maximum profit is the Y value. The maximum or min is the Y value. So to get that, you plug 500 into the original function. Okay? All right, so Seth, when you've got that, let us know. All right, Seth.
Is it 575,000?
Yeah, like 1 second.
So 75,000. So 500 is how many widgets you want to produce. $75,000 is the maximum profit. Okay? So that would be see what you the reason why, if you have a business, the reason why you want to use some math skills like this to figure out what you should be shooting for. I mean, this is if your business is, let's say that's the monthly profit or the annual profit or whatever. Well, if your business, if the maximum profit that you can make is $75,000, you probably don't want to hire 10 employees. Okay? Otherwise, you'd be in trouble. Okay? So you need to figure things like that out. And so the businesses that use math are the ones that thrive. The ones that, can't even pay their taxes the first couple of years, those are the ones that are going to be in trouble. And so you can have the greatest business model ever and the greatest idea, but if you don't know how to run it and how to use the math to help maximize profit and minimize costs, then you're going to be in trouble. All right. Okay, maximum and minimums of graphs. So we can use a calculator to find max and min values of the graph by. So you either use second calc max or second calc enter. When you see left bound, you've got to go to the left of that max or min. So you might have to arrow over a little bit. When you see right bound, you have to go to the right of it and press enter. And then for guess, you just press enter again. Now, so the hard part about this is actually you need to see the maximum or minimum on the window when you graph it. Okay? All right. So let's look at this one. It says a projectile is fired straight up from a platform. So now we're going to use it to help us in our physics class. Okay, 5 feet high, from a platform 5 feet high with an initial velocity of 400 feet per second. Use the formula S equals negative 16t squared plus V sub 0t plus S sub 0 to find the maximum height of the projectile. All right, so what is it we're going to actually put into the calculator here? What's our graph going to be? I mean, when we do the graph, it's y equals. Well, there's no y equals anyway. So we're substituting in, instead of s, we're using y. And then I would recommend that instead of t, you use x. But what about these other things? What are we going to key in? What are we going to plug in for V sub 0 and S sub 0? What's V sub 0 here?
400 feet per
Yes,
second?
because that means the initial velocity. And it says the initial velocity is 400 feet per second. And then what's S sub 0?
5.
5, because that's the initial height. It's 5, the initial position. Okay, so what we're actually going to plug in to the calculator is, so that's the equation that we're going to use. So we're going to plug into the calculator y equals negative 16x squared plus 400x plus 5. Okay, so put that into the y equals and see if you can mess with the window a little bit so that you can see the maximum value. All right. Now, if you're having trouble with the window, let me try to help you through that. First of all, the X is recording the seconds. So it doesn't make sense for the X-min to be negative. Okay? So I just said between 0 and 20. You might have guessed between 0 and 10, whatever. You don't know. And then the Y-min also is, it doesn't make sense because the Y is the height. So it doesn't make sense to have a negative height. So I would set the Y-min at 0. And the Y-max, that's just where you kind of have to guess a couple of times. And so I guessed 2,600. And I don't know if that was my first guess or second guess or whatever. But when you graph it, you have to see that highest part of the graph, the vertex. Okay? And then once you see that, then that's when you do the second count max. Go to the left, go to the right, press enter each time. And then the Y value is the maximum height, the X value is where it occurs. All right, so Ricky, what do you have for the maximum height?
2,505.
2,505. Great. And then 12.5 is how many seconds it takes to reach that maximum height. Okay? All right. So I might have asked you this, but have any of you seen the movie October Sky? Okay. So Jill has. So there's actually a key point in the movie where he actually uses this idea to calculate. Well, I guess I don't want to tell too much, but anyway. But it's actually a key point in the movie. This high school kid uses this. So anyway. True story, too, by the way. All right, any questions on that? Anyone have any trouble with the calculator? Okay, so that's it for 3-2. Any questions on that? Okay, so I realized I got kind of mixed up on my weeks. No, the midterm will not be this coming week, but the week after. Okay, this because we haven't even taken the chapter 2 test, which is going to be next week. Okay, now I'm also thinking about, in addition to you testing on Wednesday, I would love a little feedback here, but I'm actually thinking about having a Moodle day where you have another day to just take quizzes or to take the chapter 2 test. And so we would not have a lecture that day. So because so many kids are out at Holbrook, I'm not going to do that for sure on Monday. But do you guys have a preference? Would you want, if I were going to not have class and just have you take some tests or some quizzes, we're going to have to take the chapter 2 test as well. If I were going to do a Moodle day in lieu of class, would you prefer that to be on Tuesday or Thursday? Does anyone have a preference for next week?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay. So this is what I'm going to do is if the afternoon class, if they prefer Thursday, then I'm going to decide based on who wins in the football game Friday, because Mogion is in the afternoon class. So if Joseph City wins, I'm going to let you guys determine it. If Mogion wins, I'm going to let that class determine it. So anyway, but I do wish you guys luck. I wish I could be there for sure. That's my favorite game to watch. So anyway, but good luck in that. So we'll hopefully next week we'll get back to a regular week, and so kind of what I'm thinking is that depending on which day that we do it, we'll have one day where we'll take the rest of the quizzes from chapter 2. We'll take the 2, and then the Moodle day or whatever. The other day we'll have the chapter 2 test. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about for next week. And then, in the meantime, we will finish 3-3 tomorrow, or Monday. And so then we'll be set for the midterm the following week. Okay, now, the way the midterm is going to work is that's going to be, we'll do that probably Wednesday and Thursday of the following week, and so that'll also take up one of the lecture days. So I'm looking at 2 days lecturing next week and 2 days lecturing the week after.
So, are we not taking a chapter 3 test then? We're just going straight to the midterm?
Correct, because it only goes up through half of chapter 3. It only goes up from 1 through 3. So we want to actually finish chapter 3 before we do the test. Okay.
Mr. Strong, when is the latest we can retake our
Chapter 1 test.
Okay, so that's a great question. So when the answer is when we take the midterm, everything has to be in cement at that point in time. Once I grade the midterm, and I will, just to let you know, I do curve the midterm. So if the highest score on the midterm is like a 95, and that's out of all my classes. If the highest is 95, then I give everybody 5 points. Or if the highest is a 90, I give everybody 10 points. So once I've curved the midterm and put those grades in, then everything else, then I'm not opening up anything. For second attempts, or if you were absent a day and you missed a quiz, you got to have all of that done. So let's just say you probably have about 2 weeks from today to get everything squared away. Okay? And so if you need something, talk to your talent aide, make sure they can proctor it, and I'll open stuff up. But okay, you guys need to know that I don't sit in front of my computer all day. I mean, I'm teaching, I'm doing committees, I'm doing other stuff. So you can't send me an email and say, oh, I need this opened up in 20 minutes. Okay? That doesn't work. If it's like an emergency, like something happens and it's not working, probably the best way to get immediate response is to have your talent aide text me. Because, I carry my phone with me even while I'm teaching. And sometimes I can do a little bit of stuff. But if you need something, you need to give me at least a day notice, just so we can coordinate things and make sure it's all set. So, but yeah, we do need to have all of that caught up and taken care of before the midterm. So everything up to 3-3. All right? Any questions on that? All right. Well, you guys, I hope you have a great weekend. Good luck. Have fun. Work hard.
I have a question.
Be safe. Yes.
So what is it?
The juniors.
Can you open up the test
Not
from
the test.
yesterday
quizzes.
or the quizzes from yesterday for me, Jay, and Lauren on Monday during
Sure.
6 hours?
If you wouldn't mind, have Miss Buckley email me so I have those names of
Okay.
who they are and exactly what time you want, and I'll
Okay.
get it.
Thank you.
Okay? You
Thanks.
bet. All right, you guys have a great one.